Chapter 1181 Listen to your master. Just by releasing this news, the golden reputation of Peking University would shine even more. You are very good. All of a sudden, the principal of Peking University found himself at a loss of words. After enduring for some time, with a face even redder than Qiaonan's, he said these 4 words to Qiaonan in a very serious manner: "You are very good." It was not just very good. It was excellent. It was more than anyone could ask for. The principal felt even happier and more grateful that such a good Qiaonan was a student of his Peking University and not Tsinghua University. He was extremely grateful that Qiaonan had previously filled in Peking University as her choice in the college enrollment application form. Her father-in-law was the chief. Although her husband was only a regiment commander now, undoubtedly, he would be promoted this year. Her master was once head of the central government's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also an important and prominent figure that the top leaders specially invited to return to the capital this year. Qiaonan, who was surrounded by glory, was a student of Peking University. She was his student. Qiaonan was destined to be an extraordinary individual in the future. After marriage and childbirth, she would not stay at home to take care of her children like other women, who led a quiet life without making a name for themselves. A few years later, there would be another prominent graduate from Peking University. Since Elder Lin is your master, we don't need to be anxious then. It won't be wrong to listen more to your master. She was Elder Lin's disciple. Qiaonan was really considered a student from a famous school then. As Elder Lin's disciple, once Qiaonan stepped out into society, the interpersonal network in her hands was something that many could not achieve even after a few lifetimes of hard work. The more the principal thought about it, the more astounded he felt. He could not help looking up and down Qiaonan a few more times. He was thinking, how many lifetimes of good fortune had Qiaonan accumulated, or which deity's reincarnation path did she take? It was the 21st century, and as the principal of Peking University, he did not believe in such things. However, Qiaonan's situation was really as such. It was rarer than striking the 5 million yuan prize and more than 1 in a million chance that this would happen. If not for the fact that past and present lifetimes really existed and Qiaonan did too many good things in her previous life, why did all the good things go to Qiaonan in this lifetime? Knowing the principal did not take issue, Qiaonan heaved a sigh of relief. Don't worry, principal. I will definitely do so. Who should she listen to if not her master? Although she won this opportunity with her grades, no matter what, it was because the school was willing to give her such a favorable turn. So many students were pining and hoping for sponsored overseas studies, but to no avail. However, she declined the opportunity. To many people, she did not know what was good for her by doing this. Fortunately, her master was famous enough. Hence, even the principal had to be on his side. Otherwise, she would not be able to provide a good explanation for her current situation. Principal, I'll go back first then. All right, go back first. Right, didn't you miss out on half the classes for the semester? If there is anything that you do not understand, you can look for the professors to clarify. Take these study materials home to learn. They will be useful for your studies. The principal had intended to gain some favor from the Zai family. When he knew that Qiaonan's master was Elder Lin, he was even more pleased and willing to provide her with learning materials. When Qiaonan had become successful and famous in the future, some of the credit would also go to Peking University and him. The more he thought about it, the more optimistic he felt. Naturally, he was increasingly pleased with Qiaonan. He felt that Qiaonan would definitely become one of the students that Peking University would be proud of in the future. She had received a huge pile of learning materials from the principal, as well as the scholarship prize and certificate of award. This was an extremely worthwhile trip for Qiaonan. When Qiaonan opened the certificate of award and saw that she had received the same scholarship as she did previously, she understood why the principal had asked her if she was willing to study abroad. It was a pity that she might not receive it for the third time. This was because she did not have so much energy. As such, Xiaonan resumed her college life after attaining the second school-based first prize scholarship. During the second semester of Xiaonan's first year of college studies, she had already taken over the duties of the vice president of the new English club. Xiaonan could settle the usual administrative work very quickly by using the computer. Xiaonan used the Wu-Bi-Zixing input method. She seemed very familiar with this area. Other people might need to spend more than half an hour to settle the administration work, but Xiaonan only needed to spend slightly more than 10 minutes to do so. At the beginning of the second year of her college studies, she had requested for half a semester's leave of absence. Hence, someone else took over her duties in the club. For the sake of recruiting new members, the club would always launch a series of events during the second half of the year to attract potential members to join them. Undoubtedly, Xiaonan could not participate in the events as she only appeared half a semester later. Many new members joined the club recently. They had even heard of Xiaonan, this famous and prominent vice president, before, but did not have the fate to meet her. Given such a situation, some people felt unjustified. It was not that no one wanted to snatch the vice president role of Xiaonan. On the contrary, there were quite a number of them. However, not many were willing to take the lead to voice this out and bear the brunt of any negative consequences. When someone was willing to do so, the rest would adopt a wait-and-see attitude. Needless to say, the new president slammed the opinions of the person who did that. The events of the new English club this year required sponsorships. Xiaonan, this vice president, was the one who assisted in obtaining the sponsorship. If anyone disliked Xiaonan and felt that she was not qualified to be the vice president, fine. They could help the club obtain another new sponsorship then. If anyone could do that, he would relinquish Xiaonan from the post of the vice president. At that time, the club members could elect another vice president again. What did you say? Anyway, they had already obtained the sponsorship for this year. Why did they have to find another one? Wouldn't it do if they were to simply fire Xiaonan? The president spat. He was a man true to himself. How could he kick someone to the curb when they'd outlived their usefulness? If one had the shame, he should have some backbones and show that he was more capable than Xiaonan. They were benefiting from the sponsorship obtained by Xiaonan, yet they badmouthed Xiaonan for holding the role of the vice president. That was so shameless. The president was also a quick-tempered and forthright person. He gave this person a harsh scolding. That person came with confidence but left like a devastated and dying dog. With this lesson, no one targeted Xiaonan, the vice president, who had not appeared for a long time, anymore. After knowing that the events of the new English club were launched very smoothly, all the work had been completed and did not require her contribution at the moment, Xiaonan's worries lessened and she had more time to focus on her studies. When there were classes, Xiaonan would remain in the school. When there were no classes, Xiaonan would borrow a pile of books and gather learning materials from various avenues home to learn non-stop. She had the help of 3 people at home. Unless the 3 babies needed to drink milk, the only change was that Xiaonan's study venue had been changed from the library to the study room of the Zai family's residence. The Wu-Bi-Zixing input method is a Chinese character input method primarily for inputting Chinese text on an electronic device. Chapter 1182 The father of the children is back. Xiaonan had gradually adapted to juggling between her studies and her family, and she had gotten back on track. Madam, you have reached. Xiaonan would shuffle between Peking University and the Zai family's residence every day. The chauffeur at the Zai family was fast becoming Xiaonan's personal chauffeur. Xiaonan closed the book, placing her pen on the page where she stopped. Sure, thank you. Xiaonan got down from the car while the chauffeur parked the car in the garage. Xiaonan carried a heavy school bag on her back. She was just about to open the door to the house when she heard the crying sounds of Bao. The triplets were more than 2 months old and one could tell the difference in their personalities. De Bao had a similar personality to his father. Though young, he behaved like a big brother. He would only make a few sounds when he was hungry or when he soiled diapers. But he would not continue to cry his guts out. Once he was cleaned and fed, he did not need them to take care of him nor cajole him. He was very obedient and he would go back to sleep. If the triplets were hungry at the same time and they could not feed all of them at once, De Bao would not whine if he was not fed right away. If it was Bao, he would definitely flare up. If one did not feed him when he was hungry, he would cry his hearts out. One could not help but feel heartbroken and grieved at his cries. Xiao Nan was given a shock the first time Bao cried his hearts out. He was merely hungry, yet he cried as if something miserable had happened. Xiao Nan felt that her son was indeed a genius. He was only more than 2 months old, yet he was so good at acting and getting other people's attention. At times, Xiao Nan wondered who Bao took after. He was unlike her or brother Zai. As for San Bao, who was the only daughter, she was not as dainty as Bao. However, she was an impatient young lady. She would be in a hurry to drink the milk and was very greedy to have more of the milk. As she was in a hurry, San Bao would often choke on the milk. She would then cry in discomfort from choking on the milk. After Xiao Nan coaxed her and calmed her down, she would revert to her old ways and rush to drink the milk again. She simply would not learn her lesson. As her only daughter, Xiao Nan had no idea what she should do to make her change her impatient ways. There was no need to hurry when drinking the milk. She was not in a rush of time at all. Although they were young, they had displayed very different personalities. That was why upon reaching the door, Xiao Nan could tell from her experience of being a mother and the cries of the baby that it must be Bao who was throwing a tantrum. "Mom, what's wrong with Bao? Why is he crying his heart out?" Apart from Xiao Nan, who noticed the difference in their personalities, Miaojing and Zai Hua, who took care of them, noticed it as well. De Bao was the elder brother. He had no other choice but to be more considerate toward his younger siblings. In that case, Bao would have more attention, and he seldom cried like this anymore. Brother Zai, Xiao Nan was shocked to see Brother Zai sitting on the sofa at home. He always had the glitter of confidence and intelligence in his eyes and he emanated strength and power. However, he was sitting awkwardly like a robot on the sofa. He did not know where to place his hands and legs. In Zai Sheng's stiff arms was a soft and wailing Bao. He waved his hands in agony, expressing his displeasure and anger. "Don't do that! Relax and be more natural." Miaojing laughed in anger. She smacked her son's arms angrily a few times. "Your son has a bad temper. He feels uncomfortable at the way you are holding him. It is no wonder that he is crying. Relax. Yes, you have to carry him in that way. You have to learn the right way of carrying the babies. Hua Hua knows how to carry the babies in the right position now. They love their auntie very much. As the father, you must not lose to Hua Hua." From a young age, there was no need for her to worry about her son. Zai Sheng seemed to be smarter than other children. He would pick up new skills faster than other people. As his mother, Miaojing rarely had the chance to teach him or guide him. She did not expect that there would be a day he would need her help. Her son, who was faster than other people in learning new skills, was so clumsy and slow when carrying his babies. True enough, he might be smart in other ways, but he was still slow in certain aspects. "He is moving about." Zai Sheng wanted to relax, but the baby in his arms kept crying and moving about. The baby felt soft like a bundle of flesh and he kept twisting about. Although Zai Sheng was in a panic, he would not be so flustered that he lost his grip on the baby. However, from a young age, he had never held something so soft. Was the soft bundle of flesh really his son? That goes without saying. Miaojing smiled in anger. "He is your son and he is alive and kicking. It is natural for him to move about. You are such a stupid fool. Let me do it." Zai Sheng, who always kept his cool and calm, was so nervous at carrying his son that beads of perspiration could be seen on his forehead. Xiaonan's heart ached for her husband. She put aside her school bag, washed her hands, and wiped them dry with a tissue before she took Bao from the clumsy Zai Sheng. Although Xiaonan did not spend as much time with her babies as what normal mothers would, she was definitely more experienced than Zai Sheng, the father. Bao stopped wailing as soon as he smelled the comfortable and familiar smell of milk on his mother. Xiaonan patted Bao lightly on the back until he stopped crying. There were teardrops on Bao's eyelashes and his face was flushed red from his howls. One could not help but ache at the sight of him. He fell into Xiaonan's embrace, brushing his cheek against her chest and opening his mouth. After crying his heart out in his father's arms, Bao was hungry. Xiaonan could tell right away what Bao wanted. Since she had been used to the fact that there were only women in the house in the daytime, she lifted her blouse without thinking and helped Bao feed himself. Right then, she could sense a hot, burning stare that was locked onto the white mound of flesh that Bao was sucking on. Xiaonan blushed and remembered that the reason why Bao cried so sadly was that her husband was back. Xiaonan knew right away who was giving her embarrassing stares. Xiaonan carried Bao and sat sideways, blocking Zai Sheng's burning gaze with her back. Bao had his fill and burped. He was tired from crying and fell asleep right then. Xiaonan gritted her teeth as she wiped herself clean and covered herself. Chapter 1183 It had been hard on your wife. Is Bao asleep? Zai Hua breathed a sigh of relief. Among the triplets, Bao cries the most. He is just a kid. Why does he have such a bad temper? It takes such a long time to pacify him. Whenever he cries, I feel like crying as well. Bao cried easily and it was very difficult to get him to calm down. Bao would only utter a few sounds and he seldom cried. There was no need to coax him. Among the triplets, he was the easiest to handle. As a girl, Sanbao was impatient. She would cry if she was unhappy, but she would calm down easily. Bao was the only person that Miaojing and Zaihua were scared of. When Bao behaved himself and immersed himself in observing the surroundings around him, or when he was sleeping, he was an adorable and lovable angel. But once he woke up and cried uncontrollably, he was just like the devil. Nobody wanted to go near him. It was a pack of lies to say that young babies could not recognize faces. Other people would take a lot of time to pacify Bao. They would be up to a lot of tricks, but he would not stop crying. But whenever his mother held him in her arms and coaxed him, she did not need to perform any special tricks or feed him, but he was able to calm down after a few minutes. Xiaonan placed Bao in the baby crib. Sanbao was still sleeping soundly. As for Bao, he moved his head and sniffed, behaving like animals that scavenged for food through sniffing. His actions were similar to Bao when he was searching for milk previously. Xiaonan carried Bao and fed him. She smoothed his hair as she fed him. You still have the cheek to say that. You know that Bao has a temper. Why did you provoke him? Even if she did not come back home today, there was milk in the refrigerator. Once they heated the milk and fed Bao, he would stop crying. Needless to say, Bao cried today because her mother-in-law and sister-in-law handed Bao to Brother Zai. Brother Zai was a first-time father. He could not possibly know how to carry a baby. That was why he had upset Bao with his clumsiness. Zaihua raised her hand. She had nothing to do with today's incident. She was a woman, but she needed to spend a lot of time to learn the correct way to carry the triplets. She would not give the most difficult task of carrying Bao to Zai Sheng, who was a clumsy man. Miaojing had a guilty smile on her face. Zai Sheng is their father. He has to learn how to coax his children. He has to understand and know their temper. Therefore, her mother-in-law decided to start from the baby who had the worst temper. Upon hearing the conversation between his mother and wife, Zai Sheng understood that his mother and his son had made things difficult for him deliberately. Nan, it's hard on you to take care of 3 children at one go. Zai Sheng used to think that he would not get married anytime soon and it would be ages before he was a father. Perhaps he would start to think of marriage when he was 30 years old. He did not expect that he would be a father of 3 when he just turned 26 years old. Qiaonan blushed when Zai Sheng reached his hands toward her. She adjusted her clothes and passed de bao to Zai Sheng. Of course not. Mom. Sister Zai Hua and the auntie have been helping me take care of the triplets. Even if I possess remarkable abilities, I will not be able to take care of them by myself. It is hard on them as well. After feeding her sons, she moved to feed her daughter. The triplets would feel hungry at around the same time. Qiaonan did not have a specific rule as to who to feed first. As long as Bao did not make a din like today, Qiaonan would usually rotate the baby that she fed first. It had been hard on everyone. Zai Sheng was surprised that his daughter seemed to be in a hurry to drink the milk. He reached his hand to hook his daughter's fingers that were cradling Qiaonan's chest. His daughter's tiny hands felt extremely tender and smooth. He dared not exert any force and hooked her fingers lightly. On the contrary, as soon as she felt that there was something in her palms, she had a tight grip on it. There was a glitter in Zai Sheng's eyes. It was as if he had discovered something new. San Bao's grip is very strong. She was only 2 months old. Why did she have such a strong grip? You are so foolish. Besides San Bao, De Bao and Bao have a strong grip as well. Mom said that babies like to clench their fists and make a tight grip. Zai Hua, who was a first-time auntie, also had a lot of burning questions in mind when she started to take care of her nephews and niece. She had pestered her mother throughout the 2 months to answer her questions. Zai Hua had learned a lot about how to take care of babies. She was able to act as Zai Sheng's teacher and answer his questions. Miao Jing, who had fun watching them, drank some water. Nan, you are just back from school. Are you hungry? The soup is ready. Do you want to have a bowl of soup before your meal? Hua was very right about one thing. Zai Sheng was indeed a foolish father. All right. Qiaonan nodded. She had lessons for the entire morning and she had not had any food. After feeding the triplets, she felt hungry as well. She took the bowl of crucian carp soup that the auntie prepared and finished it in one go. Zai Sheng knitted his brows. Are you that hungry? No matter how hungry you are, you should not be in a hurry to have your food. It will lead to indigestion. If Nan was hungry at school, she should have bought some food to eat. She'd better not do that. Zai Hua waved her hand. Nan has to finish such soup in one go. If she takes her time to drink it, I am not sure whether it will be better for her digestion, but it will definitely hurt her throat. Zai Hua noticed that Qiaonan would always finish the tonics in one go. Zai Hua could not help but suspect that the auntie had prepared very sumptuous confinement meals for Qiaonan. Qiaonan had been taking such food for more than a month. If the food did not taste good, Qiaonan would have displayed her displeasure and reluctance. Therefore, Zai Hua did a very foolish deed a week ago. She dared not ask Qiaonan to share the soup with her. If so, she would be fighting for food with her sister-in-law who was breastfeeding. Even though she could not ask to have the soup openly, she could have it secretly. Therefore, Zai Hua hid it from everyone and tasted Qiaonan's soup out of curiosity. A slight taste of it and Zai Hua understood why it was so overwhelming. One would feel happy if one had delicious food. But if one had disgusting food, one would indeed be overwhelmed. Zai Hua was puzzled. The soup was not sweet or salty. It was fishy and oily. It was not tasty at all. Why did Qiaonan seem as if she was savoring delicious food whenever she drank the soup? It was because of her that she was intrigued and ended up in a misunderstanding. Chapter 1184 The father of the children is inhumane. Qiaonan did not know whether to cry or laugh upon knowing this. Am I drinking it to satisfy my hunger? I am drinking it because I have to drink it. This soup is simply unbearable. But the problem was the soup could help increase her milk. If she did not drink it, her triplets would not have milk. This was not a matter of taste, and she was left with no choice. As Zihua learned more and more about the hard work of a mother, she gradually changed her perception of Miaojing. She might not be aware of other things, but she knew that she and Zisheng had breast milk when they were babies. She did not remember that she had breast milk when she was young. However, she had memories of Zisheng drinking milk in her mother's arms. Zihua asked old Master Zai secretly if her mother drank the soup that Jiaonan had when she was breastfeeding Zisheng and her. Old Master Zai gave her a positive answer. The triplets might have a big appetite, but they were still young. If not for the fact that there were so many of them, there was no need for Jiaonan to be in a hurry to increase her breast milk. Back then, Miaojing was able to feed Zihua and Zisheng when they were still young. However, by the time they were 4 months old, they had a huge appetite. Perhaps the children in the Zai family had a huge appetite. Zihua had an equally big appetite as Zisheng, who was a boy. In order to feed her children, Miaojing had to drink the tonics to increase her milk. After getting her question answered, Zihua did not behave especially affectionately toward Miaojing. However, instead of getting irritated with her nagging and agreeing with her overtly but opposing her in secret to please her, she changed her attitude toward Miaojing. Compared to the past, she would take her words seriously. Zihua used to think that her mother never really took care of her, but she gradually understood that she was loved and taken care of by her mother. It was just that she was young and she did not have memories of it. She did not understand that as a mother, Miaojing had always been caring for them. Zisheng was smarter than Zihua. Upon hearing her words, he more or less knew what was going on. Nan still has to go to school and the triplets will feel hungry many times a day. Can't we give them baby formula? Compared to the children, Jiaonan was the apple of his eye. She would always be his priority. Previously, he had already told Jiaonan that it was alright if she was pregnant. After giving birth to the children, she could still go on with life as per normal. Someone else would take care of the children. Today, Zisheng saw for himself how they would cry and move about and was amazed at how adorable and chubby they were. But even so, he did not want Nan to overwork herself. No, Zihua was the first to reject. It is good for babies to have breast milk. They will be stronger and they will not fall sick easily. She and Zisheng had breast milk when they were young and they seldom fell sick since then. Nan, are you able to take it? Zisheng was inexperienced. But that did not mean that he was clueless. Jiaonan had to provide the triplets with the breast milk. It was very draining and exhausting to feed the triplets. Furthermore, Jiaonan wanted to go according to her original plan to complete her studies. Feeding her babies would be a heavy burden on her. Jiaonan cradled Sanbao in her arms even though she was full and fast asleep. I am okay for the time being. All right. If you feel that it is too tiring, you must tell mom. I noticed that we have a lot of baby formula at home. They are from overseas and there should not be any problem with their quality. Zisheng, who just came home, had a look around the house. When Zisheng came back home in the past, he felt that the house was without any warmth. When he reached home today, he was welcomed by the smell of milk. Ever since he married Nan, everything had changed at home. You are too inhumane. You favor your wife over your kids. Zihua knew that Zisheng was worried for his wife and he wanted his children to have baby formula instead. Dabao, you are so miserable. Your dad doesn't love the three of you. Don't worry. As your auntie, I will make sure that all of you won't suffer. Zihua touched Dabao's chubby cheeks. It was smooth and tender. Zihua could not stop herself from touching him. After the triplets were born, Zihua would refuse to go out on dates with Tiandong. There was once when they only left the house for around 20 minutes and Zihua insisted that the triplets must be crying at home. She believed that her mother and the auntie could not cope with the triplets and she had to help them out. Since Zihua had said so, Tiandong could do nothing about it as well. Since then, Tiandong and Zihua would not go out for a movie, have meals, or shop around. Instead, they would stay at the Zai family's residence and they would carry the babies, change their diapers, and feed them. Other than Zihua, who was adept at taking care of the triplets, if Tiandong, their future uncle, was at the Zai family's residence today, he would do a better job at taking care of the babies than their father, Zai Sheng. Stop your nonsense! Miao Jing smacked Zihua's hands. De Bao has just fallen asleep. Don't disturb him. The babies may be young, but they are very intelligent. You should not shoot your mouth off in front of them. When Zai Sheng and you were at a young age, both of you were very smart and crafty. Don't think that they are clueless as they are still young. Her grandchildren were the smartest children in the world. Zihua snorted, but she did not rebut Miao Jing. Instead, she turned to pull Bao's tiny hands. Bao had his fill and he was tired from crying just now. Zihua was confident that he would not wake up even if she pulled his tiny hands. Miao Jing shook her head angrily. To think that Hua was an ant, yet she was so insensible. Miao Jing turned to look at Zai Sheng and Qiao Nan. Zai Sheng, Nan is just back from school. The school bag is very heavy. Can you help Nan bring it back to the room? Her son had been away from home for more than half a year. Now that he was back, his eyes were fixed on Nan and he could not take his eyes off her. As his mother, Miao Jing could not possibly hinder her son. She would allow her son and daughter-in-law to have some private time. The triplets had just been fed and they would be quiet for at least 1 to 2 hours. Now was the right time for her son to bring Nan away with him. If the triplets woke up and pestered Nan, her son would not be able to spend some private time with Nan. Sure. Zai Sheng's eyes lit up. Without waiting for Qiao Nan to give her comments, he grabbed Qiao Nan's school bag, held Qiao Nan by the waist, and carried Qiao Nan with him. Qiao Nan felt that she was being lifted off the floor. Qiao Nan blushed, and in no time, she was no longer in the living room but in their room. Qiao Nan fell backward onto the soft bed. Qiao Nan, who was placed on the bed, bounced due to the spring mattress. Be Brothers I. Chapter 1185 A Fierce Bite. She had a lot to tell Brothers I. He had not been back for half a month. Apart from the 2 short conversations with him on the phone, she was about to forget his voice. Compared to Qiao Nan, who had a lot to say, Zai Sheng used his actions to prove that he was more interested in doing it. The curtains cut off most of the lights outside. Their room was thrown into sudden darkness. Qiao Nan could faintly make out a blurred figure that belonged to Zai Sheng. A pair of familiar but distant hands reached out toward her. Qiao Nan went weak and trembled on the bed. Perhaps Zai Sheng already had this thought in mind since he came back home. He made use of the time when she was feeding the triplets to figure out the zips and buttons on her clothes. Zai Sheng had never seen Qiao Nan in the outfit that she wore today. However, as soon as she lay on the bed, he was able to undress her deftly under the dim light. It seemed as if he was an experienced lady killer and was familiar with all types of female clothes. Undressing her was a simple feat to him. He acted quickly, mercilessly, and accurately. Qiao Nan was without any clothes in no time. Not only was Zai Sheng skilled in undressing her, but he was just as skilled in undressing himself. When he pressed onto her, she could feel his bare skin. Thereafter, she could only feel endless gushes of burning waves roaring through her, as if she was about to be enveloped by them. Qiao Nan grabbed Zai Sheng's arms, lost in the burning waves. She lay on the bed as Zai Sheng brought her to heights time and again. Qiao Nan only had classes in the morning. She did not have any lessons in the afternoon. Her original intention was to study while the triplets were asleep in the afternoon. If the triplets woke up, her mother-in-law would be there to take care of them. Apart from having to feed them, she would leave the task of taking care of them to her mother-in-law. Xiaonan and Miaojing had been cooperating well all along and she managed to have some time to study. However, the presence of Zai-Sheng disrupted Xiaonan's schedule today. Xiaonan had no idea when she drifted off to sleep. By the time she woke up, the room was in total darkness as they had drawn the curtains. She could not tell what time it was. Xiaonan looked at the clock on the bedside table. She turned sullen when she realized that it was already 5 o'clock in the evening. It was not even noon when she reached the Zai family's residence. In the blink of an eye, she had slept for more than 5 hours. Men were indeed troublesome. Verwa, she could hear a baby crying outside the room. The baby seemed to have cried for a long time, his voice turning hoarse. A man's voice could be heard cajoling the baby, but he sounded awkward. Clearly, he must be inexperienced, but one could tell that he loved the baby very much. Don't cry anymore. I will bring you to your mom. Bao, who was tired from crying, disliked the man who was carrying him. He felt hard and he carried him in an uncomfortable position. Most importantly, he was hungry. Xiaonan could tell from the cries that it was Bao, who was crying again. Xiaonan wanted to sit up, but her waist ached terribly. It was as if she had done 100 sit-ups within 10 minutes despite having not trained consistently. Her stomach and waist ached badly. Xiaonan flopped down on the bed, feeling listless. She moved slowly as she tried sitting up again. This time, she was ready for the ache that she felt in her waist. Zai-Sheng carried his son and pushed the door open. His wife stared at him angrily. Her clear, sparkling eyes widened slightly in anger. She looked flushed after their intimate episode just now. Zai-Sheng's heart fluttered at the sight of her. Xiaonan shot a disdainful look at Zai-Sheng. Why are you standing at the door? Bring Bao here. If he continued crying, it might hurt his throat. Although it was good for Bao's health to cry occasionally, crying too much would not be good for him. All right. Zai-Sheng passed Bao to Xiaonan, placing him in Xiaonan's arms. Xiaonan lifted her clothes. She was not wearing anything underneath her clothes. Bao, who was starving, smelled the familiar scent of milk and opened his mouth to take a fierce bite. Xiaonan frowned in pain. Thankfully, Bao does not have any teeth. Otherwise, I will be in so much pain now. Brother Zai, now that you are back, should you discuss with the old master and dad about their names? They could not possibly keep using their pet names De Bao, Bao, and San Bao. Okay. I will give you an answer tonight. Zai-Sheng nodded. He hooked Bao's hands, stopping him from grabbing Xiaonan's chest. He could not stop him from touching what belonged to him when he was not at home. Now that he was at home, he would not allow other men to touch his belongings. Although his opponent was his son and he was having his favorite food, Zai-Sheng's stand was firm. Bao had his full concentration on drinking his milk. He had no time to throw his temper at his father who kept teasing him by pulling at his tiny hands. Nan, have you run into any trouble in school lately? Bao was drinking heartily. It was as if he was having the most delicious food in the world. Zai-Sheng was jealous of his own son. 2 hours ago, he had a taste of it as well. Zai-Sheng could not help but pinch Bao's chubby cheeks, disturbing him from his meals. Bao was unhappy. He flailed his tiny hands and moved his head about, trying to shrug the hand that was pinching his cheeks. Bao was too tiny to defeat his mischievous father. He was not his opponent. In the end, Xiaonan, the mother, could not stand it and stepped in. She slapped Zai-Sheng's hands. Brother Zai, stop bullying Bao. Mom said that if we pinch the baby's cheeks, they will drool in the future. While drinking the milk, Bao shot aggrieved looks at Zai-Sheng, as if agreeing with Xiaonan that his father was being too nasty to him. He was too shameless to bully a baby who was still on his milk. Bao, be good. Let's ignore your dad. You will grow up to be strong and healthy. Bao kept looking at his father, not concentrating on his meal. Xiaonan shook him slightly and patted his bottom, telling him to ignore his father. Babies loved it when the adults cajoled them. Bao stopped looking at Zai Sheng and concentrated on drinking his milk. Brother Zai, why did you ask me whether I have run into any trouble? After pacifying Bao, Xiaonan adjusted his position. Did anything happen? Otherwise, Brother Zai would not have asked such a question. Nothing much. It is just that there are some slight issues. It has been settled. Zai Sheng gave a brief answer. Now that Bao is full, must we make sure that he burps? Let me do it. Chapter 1186 Untitled. Xiaonan was a little doubtful when she passed Bao to Brother Zai. Brother Zai, do you know how to? Do you want to learn first? No need. Zai Sheng decisively carried Bao to his arms. Bao had eaten his fill. He was so sleepy that his eyes were shut throughout. No matter how fussy Bao was usually, he would fall asleep easily after he had eaten his fill. As such, Bao was very easygoing at the moment. He would not make noise or fuss around, and whoever carried Bao could coax him to sleep immediately. I have seen how Zaihua did it when I was downstairs. Upon watching, he had rehearsed it in his mind a few times. He should be given a chance to put it to practice now. Fortunately, Zai Sheng was very adept at learning new things. After patting Bao for a while, Zai Sheng really managed to make him burp. Undoubtedly, when Bao's tummy was full and he was fast asleep, one after another, De Bao and San Bao woke up in hunger and cried for milk. Clearly, it was already late summer in November and winter was approaching. However, after feeding the three babies continuously, Xiaonan was perspiring due to the torture. Come and have your meal, everyone. Old Master Zai and Zai Yaowai, who were waiting downstairs, watched as Zai Sheng and Xiaonan walked down the stairs, holding hands. That degree of intimacy was as if they had just fallen in love. Zai Yaowai estimated that from dating until now, the two of them had been together for a few years. Unexpectedly, the relationship between his son and daughter-in-law was getting better and better. Zai Yaowai only calculated the actual calendar time. He did not assess in detail. Given that Zai Sheng did not spend all 365 days a year at home, despite the certainty that they had been together for a few years, the actual time that they had spent together was, in fact, very short. Furthermore, absence makes the heart grow fonder. A year had not even passed since Xiaonan was married to Zai Sheng. They were still considered to be newly married. Absence coupled with being newly married, it was not strange at all that Zai Sheng and Xiaonan would be so sticky to each other. Nan, eat more. Knowing that her daughter-in-law had not stepped out of the bedroom for the entire morning and Zai Sheng only came down to carry the children when it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Miao Jing could not help giving Zai Sheng a few more glares. She felt that her son was too heartless. Didn't he see how thin Nan had become while taking care of the 3 children? In the past, she complained that her son was not home and could not stay by Nan's side to share some of the responsibilities. Today, Miao Jing was shocked to discover a fact when her son was back: her son's return was not any better than his absence. After he was back, he could not share the pressure with Nan or reduce her burden. On the contrary, Nan only needed to coax the 3 little ones when her son was not at home. Now, Nan had to coax and take care of an additional person. Her son's return was not to share the burden with Nan but to add on to it. What is the matter? Xiaonan, who was sitting beside Zai Sheng, noticed that Zai Sheng's expression looked a little odd. After she poured a bowl of soup and put it in front of Zai Sheng, she asked, "Do you feel unwell anywhere? That roll on the bed previously was too sudden." Zai Sheng even drew the curtains. Xiaonan, whose eyesight was not better than Zai Sheng's, could not see his condition clearly. At this moment, Zai Sheng looked a little odd. Thanks. Xiao Nan could not help suspecting that Zai Sheng had deliberately drawn the curtains in the bedroom earlier so that she could not discover the new wound on him. Is it because most of the missions carried out by Zai Sheng were very dangerous? This was not the first time that Xiao Nan heard that Zai Sheng was injured after completing a mission. She had also seen it for herself once before. At the thought of this possibility, Xiao Nan's expression looked uglier than Zai Sheng's. Why don't we make a trip to the hospital? No matter how much Brother Zai did not want the family to worry for him, he should not hide the situation of his injury and endure it without muttering a word. This would make everyone worried. It would also make the family feel upset if this were to happen many times. Zai Sheng squeezed Xiao Nan's hands. Don't need to worry. I am fine. I am well and am not injured. Upon finishing his words, Zai Sheng glanced at Miao Jing from the corners of his eyes to remind his biological mother to restrain a little so that she would not scare Nan Nan. Miao Jing had a guilty conscience, yet she felt indignant and glared back at Zai Sheng. If he did not go overboard, would she step on his foot with all her might? After thinking about it, Miao Jing felt that it was too tough on Xiao Nan to have to take care of Zai Sheng, this older one, just after taking care of the little ones. She wanted to ask Zai Sheng not to go overboard by holding on to Xiao Nan and bullying her. Did Zai Sheng want Xiao Nan to take care of 4 children at the same time? Nan Nan still has classes tomorrow. She woke up very early in the morning. Nan Nan plans to shorten the college studies and strive to graduate a year earlier so that she could take care of the 3 babies. Let me warn you. It's fine that you are not of any help. Don't drag Nan Nan down. If you can't do that, be careful that I will deal with you. If I can't, there's still the old master and your dad. Miao Jing was helpless too. If her son was a little more sensible and caring, he should understand all these completely without the need for her to teach him. After knowing that Miao Jing was fighting for her justice, Xiao Nan felt both touched and embarrassed. Mom, have a piece of beef. Auntie cooked it and it tastes very delicious. Auntie selected the meat very well. There aren't many tendons and the meat won't get stuck in the teeth. Miao Jing immediately smiled like a flower. All right, Mom will try it. It's not bad. Once the daughter-in-law coaxed her. Miao Jing immediately cast the disobedient and insensible Zai Sheng aside. They started behaving like a loving pair of mother and daughter-in-law as they filled each other's bowl with dishes. The mother and daughter-in-law were behaving so affectionately. Those who were unaware would think that today was not Xiao Nan's meal with the in-laws. Instead, it was the rare occasion where Xiao Nan brought Zai Sheng, this clumsy son-in-law, back to the maternal family to have a simple meal, and Miao Jing was the mother-in-law who had married off her daughter. Zai Hua looked at Zai Sheng, amused, and laughed at him. After Nan Nan came, Zai Sheng's and her statuses had been squeezed down the ranks. After the 3 babies came, it seemed that Zai Sheng had also fallen out of favor although he was the baby's biological father. Zai Sheng did not bother about Zai Hua's gloating at all. His status and treatment had turned worse. Certainly, Zai Hua's situation was not any better than his. As the only 2 biological siblings who grew up together, Zai Hua had always ranked below Zai Sheng. Hence, he did not think much of it. He would do whatever was needed. Zai Sheng, come to my study room to have a game of chess after eating. Old Master Zai was older now and his appetite was not as good as before. If he were to eat too much, he would suffer from gastric pain due to indigestion and had to take medicine to resolve the problem. Zai Sheng knew that this meant that old Master Zai had something to say to him. Okay. After the meal, according to the routine, Miao Jing and the trio helped the 3 babies change diapers, wash their bums, changed their clothes, and put them to sleep. Chapter 1187 It's better for me to do I. Xiao Nan carried her books to one side and sat down to catch up on her studies. Well, her husband was home. Xiao Nan's study plan was now lagging by half a day. Honestly, in front of Xiao Nan, this student, even the soldier Zai Sheng, was not considered a busy man. Xiao Nan was the truly busy one. She very much wished that there could be two of her, or she was a superhuman with 3 heads and 6 arms. When Xiao Nan finished half of the tasks that she planned to do today, Zai Sheng came home. After Zai Sheng entered the bedroom, he walked behind Xiao Nan, reached out his hands, and hugged her from behind. As soon as he exerted strength with his iron-like arms, Xiao Nan's body was lifted into the air, although she was still holding on to a pen. Xiao Nan did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Didn't we just, in the afternoon? My body is still aching now. Brother Zai, don't be too much. Overindulgence is not good for health. Brother Zai, I'm doing this for your own good." Of course, her studies were also very important. "Do you think that a few times in the afternoon could satisfy me?" Zai Sheng said with disdain. If Nan Nan had not fainted, he would not have stopped. To Zai Sheng, the 3-hour torture in the afternoon was only considered half full. It was the same for every human being. If one was 100% full or overate a particular food, one would become sick of that food for some time thereafter. It would be different if one was already very interested in the new food and had been craving for it for a long time. When he was starving so badly that anything would taste good, he actually tasted something that he loved most. He had wanted to fill his tummy without reservation but was eventually barely full. As such, his interest in this kind of food immediately multiplied. Now, Zai Sheng was starving so badly that his pair of eyes was emitting green light. He really had the impulse to tear Xiao Nan apart and completely devour her into his stomach. "Don't." When she was lying on the bed once again, Xiao Nan was so anxious that she blushed badly. "Although the 3 babies are only over 2 months old, I can't guarantee that I won't become pregnant now. We don't have condoms in our house either. You're putting me in a difficult position. You don't want me to go for an abortion if I become pregnant, right?" Xiao Nan was inexperienced in this area. However, she heard many cases whereby abortion was bad for health. Most importantly, to someone who especially loved children, abortion was not only harmful to health but also cruel. If she did not do that, she would be hindering her husband's future. Hence, before anything of such happened, they had to think of ways and try their best to prevent it, which would put them in a dilemma. The two led a couple's life after marriage, and Zai Sheng had been letting nature take its course. If Xiao Nan were to become pregnant, she would give birth. As such, until now, things such as condom or contraception medicine could not be found in the Zai family's residence. In the afternoon, Zai Sheng's actions were too fast. Xiao Nan lost her sanity very soon and did not remember all these. However, Xiao Nan was very sober now. She could not help but be a wet blanket at this moment. "Don't worry. Unless there is a problem with the surgery, you won't become pregnant anymore." After knowing that Xiao Nan was not rejecting his advances, that aloofness beneath Zai Sheng's eyes disappeared in a flash. Recently, some bad things had happened in the army. As a bystander, Zai Sheng heard many things. No matter how confident Zai Sheng was, he had seen many of these things and they happened to people so close to him. It was impossible for Zai Sheng not to think much of it. Fortunately, the young lady that he had fallen in love with had always been the best in this world. She had never let him down. When she heard Zai Sheng mention that she would not be pregnant anymore, the hands that Xiao Nan used to block Zai Sheng were not so firm anymore. However, she was still avoiding Zai Sheng's hot and searing kiss. "Surgery failure? What do you mean? Why did you suddenly mention the surgery and that I won't become pregnant anymore?" Not many people were aware that she was married and had given birth to 3 children. Typically, since she already had 3 children, she should go through the procedure of an IUD insertion. The problem was that the 3 babies were still little and Zai Sheng was hardly at home. Hence, Xiao Nan could not spare the time to do that. Zai Sheng pressed Jiao Nan down with his body forcefully, opened Jiao Nan's body, and sank in. When Jiao Nan lost her sanity once again and fell into the madness and passion brought by Zai Sheng, he heard Zai Sheng's deep, hoarse, and sexy voice whispering into her ears. I underwent ligation. When Jiao Nan was giving birth, Zai Sheng did not manage to fulfill his wish of returning to Jiao Nan's side to watch their children born together. After Jiao Nan gave birth to Bao, she fainted as her energy was drained. San Bao almost suffocated in her womb and caused the death of both the mother and baby. Zai Hua did not hide any of these from Zai Sheng. How could Zai Sheng not know what Zai Hua's intent was? Initially, when they were together, Zai Hua strongly objected to it. She had doubted Nan Nan's sincerity and motives and was afraid that he would be too naive and had been taken in by Nan Nan. Now, Zai Hua defended and protected Nan Nan wholeheartedly. On the contrary, she was picky on him, this biological brother, and sided with Nan Nan for every matter. Since a long time ago, he knew that the lady that he had chosen was awesome and the best in the world. True enough, reality had proven it all. Zai Sheng could not come back to keep Jiao Nan company when she was in pain during childbirth. As such, in other areas, if he had a choice, Zai Sheng would rather take the pain than let Jiao Nan suffer any of it. To him, 3 children were more than enough. After knowing that he had 3 children, Zai Sheng returned to the camp as soon as he had completed his mission. The first place that he left for was not his home but the hospital in the army to undergo ligation surgery. Zai Sheng was not even willing to let Jiao Nan do a minor surgery such as IUD insertion. Why would he do something that would harm Jiao Nan due to his overindulgence and impulse on the spur of a moment? If he made Jiao Nan pregnant, she could only endure the pain in her heart and carry out an abortion, which was very harmful to her health. Today, in the middle of the night, the 3 babies woke up in hunger. They cried and kicked up a fuss but Zai Hua did not appear. Zai Sheng was already home. Of course, she would not join in the fun. It was just nice. Zai Sheng should experience for himself how tough it was to take care of the 3 babies, lest he be led astray by the complicated world outside or succumb to temptation. After returning to the capital, Zai Hua spent less time in the army but it did not mean that she did not feel the difference between the capital and Pingcheng. After entering the central government, they encountered people and matters that were more complicated and corrupted than that of Pingcheng. There were all kinds of means and tricks, only waiting to get you. Corruption was rampant as were forming of coalition and allies. That was purely the framing tactics used by political opponents. They utilized such corrupted means to numb their revolutionary wills. She had not mentioned these matters to Jiao Nan before. Chapter 1188 Quick Temper. However, she had been deeply worried that Zai Sheng would commit a moral mistake due to temptation. Regardless of whether she was being paranoid, it would not be too wrong to be a little more careful or prepare for danger in times of peace. Zai Hua had been thinking more and doing less. Only if she did less could Zai Sheng do more. Zai Sheng would understand Jiao Nan's pain then. Moreover, this could expend more of Zai Sheng's energy lest he come up with other ideas. It would be best if he ran out of steam. Zai Hua could hide these little tricks from Miaojing but not the men of the Zai family. Old Master Zai snorted proudly. This was the grandson that he had brought up personally. If Zai Sheng's will of revolution was so weak, he would write his name the other way round. Zai Yayawai felt a little helpless. His daughter's relationship with his daughter-in-law was better than that with his son. How was he going to resolve this? Zai Sheng felt helpless too but it did not bother him. Nan Nan was his wife. Of course, he would devote his heart and mind in taking care of her. There was no need for other people to blindly kick up a fuss. Women? In his eyes, besides his mother, Nan Nan, and his newborn daughter, the rest of the people were just individuals. Even for Zai Hua, he only took her as a tomboy who could not be called a woman. Besides these 3 women, the other women had already lost their gender in front of Zai Sheng. It was quite difficult for Zai Sheng to commit some mistakes that would be easily committed by other men. Zai Sheng, who had just assumed the role, was not very familiar with being a father. Of course, tonight, Xiao Nan was more tired, but she also fell into a deeper sleep than before. The next morning, Xiao Nan had dark circles under her eyes when Zai Sheng sent her to school. "I'll come and fetch you at 11. Xiao Nan yawned and nodded. "Okay, you can leave the house around 11 to fetch me. Stay at the entrance. Don't drive the car in." People were already staring at the Land Rover when it arrived at the entrance of the school. If they were to really drive it into the school compound, there would only be more onlookers. Hence, Xiao Nan would rather walk for over 20 minutes than letting Zai Sheng drive into the school to fetch her. Moreover, it was about a 20-minute walk because the building in which Xiao Nan would be having her classes happened to be nearer to the school entrance. Okay. Zai Sheng was very willing to indulge Xiao Nan in such minor matters. All the while, Zai Sheng acceded to all of Xiao Nan's requests. He trusted Xiao Nan very much with her college life. When he was seated in the car, the sharp eyes of Zai Sheng noticed that although there were only a few people who passed through the entrance, once his wife appeared, all the men looked at his wife and could not help taking a few more glances. As a man, Zai Sheng could understand these men's actions. However, as a husband, he could not do so. After some time, Zai Sheng pursed the corners of his lips coldly. After giving birth, Nan Nan was more charismatic than before. It was just that Nan Nan was too naive and did not discover this change at all. The age of spring onions and the smile of spring flowers. The purity exuded from her was filled with the seductive charisma of a new wife and the gentleness of a new mother. To men, this kind of woman was a fatal attraction. Fortunately, Nan Nan was already married to him and she was not living in the school. For the sake of the 3 babies, besides attending classes, Nan Nan was always studying or taking care of the babies at home. She did not even go to the school library. Xiao Nan was totally unaware that after she alighted from the car, Zai Sheng went home with a tummy full of jealousy just because some people cast her a few more glances. In fact, Xiao Nan's change was not only felt by men but also by women. For example, Su Shennan could tell the difference in Xiao Nan when they met upon Xiao Nan's return to the school. Fortunately, Zai Sheng only noticed that more men were looking at Xiao Nan. If he were to see that even some women liked to be closer to Xiao Nan, Zai Sheng would probably feel even more jealous. It would be simply a sea of jealousy. Dabao, call Master Grandpa. In the house of the Zai family, Lin Yuankong, who was seldom willing to leave his own house, did not go anywhere except for the house of the Zai family. He was carrying the sturdy and heavyweight Dabao as he teased him to talk. Dabao opened his pair of eyes that were as black and dewy as grapes and blinked at Lin Yuankong. He was drooling as he opened his pinkish and tender tiny mouth. As for the Master Grandpa? Sorry, Dabao expressed that he did not understand what that was. He just opened his mouth and spoke some baby language to Lin Yuankong. Dabao, you're so obedient. Right, I am your Master Grandpa. Next time, I will teach you how to speak English, okay? Lin Yuankong still bothered so much as if Dabao really understood his words and vice versa. One old and one young. One word from each. It was funny they seemed to be having a conversation. Okay, okay. Our Dabao resembles his mother. Both are good kids who love to learn. Master Grandpa is very happy. Yee yee. Is that so? No hurry. You're still very young now. After a few months. I will teach you after a few months. Yee. Dabao is so obedient. You're as obedient as your mother. Master Grandpa likes Dabao very much. Do you like Master Grandpa? Zai Hua, who was carrying Sanbao, was speechless. So, Elder Lin's intelligence was the same as that of Dabao now. Hence, the two were one of a kind and Elder Lin could understand Dabao's words. It was no wonder Zai Hua would suspect that. Elder Lin was really chatting as if he was so familiar with Dabeo. That affection between the old and the young, they looked as if they were long-lost relatives who finally got to meet each other. No matter what they chatted about, it was filled with deep nostalgia, memories, and feelings of the old times. Miaojing patted Zihua. You can't look at Elder Lin in that way. Elder Lin was just teasing and playing with Dabeo. Initially, I feel that Dabeo resembles Zai Sheng too much. Besides Nan Nan, he doesn't like to care about others. When Bao cries, at most, he will take a glance and then ignore him thereafter. Now, it seems that Dabeo has some affinity with Elder Linier. Elder Lin was right. Dabeo was as smart and likable as his mother. He got along so well with Elder Lin. Ha ha ha, Zihua did not comment further on Miaojing's words. She reached out her hands and broke the milk bubbles that Sanbao blew with her mouth. Initially, Sanbao did not bother about it either. She continued to blow her bubbles and was having a great time. Who would have known that her auntie would poke one as soon as she blew one? The more bubbles she blew, the faster her auntie poked them. As a quick-tempered young lady, Sanbao flared up suddenly and she cried. The moment Sanbao cried, regardless of the Bao in Miaojing's arms or the Dabeo who was conversing with Elder Lin, both turned their heads and looked at Sanbao. Thereafter, their bright and watery big eyes could not help narrowing unhappily as they glared at Zihua with tiger-like expressions. Chapter 1189 Dissatisfied. It's all because of your itchy hands. Miaojing patted Zihua's hands unhappily. You clearly know that Sanbao is very quick-tempered, yet you deliberately be at odds with her. What kind of auntie are you? Carry Bao. I will coax Sanbao. To say that Hua had grown up. She had indeed performed quite well when she helped take care of the 3 babies. To say that she had not grown up, look, Sanbao was just a baby who was still drinking milk, yet she was bullied to tears by Hua, this heartless biological auntie. Miaojing could not help doubting whether she could leave her maternal grandchild in her daughter's care if Zihua were to give birth to a child after marrying Tiandong. When that time came, she hoped that her maternal grandchild would not be badly bullied as compared to Sanbao when it fell into the clutches of Hua. Zihua smiled, embarrassed. She was just teasing Sanbao and did not do it on purpose. Both Zihua and Miaojing did not notice that when the two of them exchanged the babies in their arms, as Zihua was carrying Bao over, Bao, whose neck was already quite strong, waved his little claws and took the chance to punch Zihua a few times. Of course, Bao's strength was so meager that Zihua did not feel any pain. She even thought that Bao was giving her a massage as he was afraid that she would be tired. Mom, did you see that? Bao is massaging my hands. His heart really aches for me, this auntie. My obedient Bao, let auntie give you a kiss. Muag. Having said that, ignoring Bao's mood, she kissed Bao and took huge advantage of him. Zai Sheng, who had just arrived home after sending Qiaonan to school, happened to see Bao's spectacular performance and walked in nonchalantly. Elder Lin, you're here? Nan Nan has classes today. She's not at home. No issue. I know Nan Nan has classes. I am here to see the 3 babies. Lin Yuankong did not mind. He said that he would not get a turn to carry the 3 babies if his little disciple was around. Compared to these old men and women, the 3 babies favored Nan Nan, their biological mother, most. When Xiao Nan was around, the 3 babies would prefer to stay by her side based on her smell. Even when they were lying down, they did not need anyone to carry. They would also be very good-tempered and not kick up a fuss. Anyway, the activity that they did most nowadays was to shut their eyes and sleep. If anyone were to tease the 3 babies or insisted on carrying them, the 3 babies would immediately frown and cry for the person to see. When their mama was not around, a rare situation would occur whereby the 3 babies would be awake and want people to hug them. They would not resist being carried and would not mind whoever carried them. In short, with their mama around, everything else was as superficial as clouds. Actually, newborns who were not yet 3 months old could not recognize people's faces. They recognized based on feelings and smells. After taking a seat, Zai Sheng changed his mind about carrying San Bao. He carried the most dramatic Bao instead. Zai Sheng squeezed Bao's tightly clenched fists. The round little fists were very soft, especially the back of his hands, as there was a lot of flesh on them. He has the looks of an elder brother. If De Bao and Bao maintained the same temperaments after they grew up, he did not need to be afraid that someone would bully San Bao then. Seemingly sensing that someone else was hugging him now, Bao twisted his head and snorted continuously. His little fists loosened and 5 adorable balls of flesh immediately appeared on the back of his fleshy hands. Zai Sheng touched Bao, who was just over 2 months old and full of baby fat. Your mother has fed you well. Look at how well you have grown. These 3 fleshy lotus roots were all Nan Nan's work and credit. At the thought that Jiao Nan seemed to have become slimmer in the waist again, Zai Sheng said unhappily, "You've been well fed and chubby, but you've tired out your mom and made her skinnier. These 3 little jerks." Zai Sheng always gave others the impression that he was a tough and aloof man. When these words came out of his mouth, the few people who heard that felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Was Zai Sheng's image going to collapse? The newborns had only been awake shortly and Bao had already kicked up a fuss for some time. He was opening his tiny mouth and yawning non-stop. As for what his biological father said earlier, Bao expressed that he was still very young and did not understand. "Let me do it." Once Bao wanted to sleep, Zai Hua wished to carry him back to coax him to sleep. Zai Sheng did not pass Bao back to Zai Hua. Instead, he placed Bao onto his laps. His actions were a little awkward. Soon after, he was gently patting Bao with a messy rhythm. Fortunately, his actions got smoother after patting a few more times. Bao was too sleepy. In addition, he was used to the hard and tough hugs by his great-grandfather and grandfather. Hence, Bao did not react much in Zai Sheng's arms. His chubby and tiny face rubbed Zai Sheng's arms a few times and he fell asleep soon after. After Bao fell asleep, De Bao and San Bao were also in a daze. Until now, the routine of the 3 babies had been relatively the same. After the 3 babies went to sleep, of course, the adults put them in the baby cribs and covered them with little blankets. When the living hall was quiet again, Lin Yuankong looked at Zai Sheng. "How is it? After you came back this time, what kind of underhand methods did Peng Yu use on you this time? You couldn't even make it back in time to see your children being born? You didn't even attend their full-month celebration." Lin Yuankong was Jiao Nan's master. He looked at things more from Jiao Nan's perspective. As a college student, Jiao Nan was already married. Zai Sheng and the Zai family had taken huge advantage of Jiao Nan. It was Jiao Nan, this young lady, who was too kind and did not take issue with them. Otherwise, which family's lady would marry so early? Fine. He could forget about this. However, Zai Sheng could not possibly not stay by Jiao Nan's side and let Jiao Nan bear everything alone, right? During her 10 months of pregnancy, Zai Sheng did not even accompany Jiao Nan to any of her medical appointments. Giving birth was such a dangerous matter. However, he did not even know where Zai Sheng was during that time. Lin Yuankong accepted Jiao Nan as his disciple because Zai Sheng acted as the bridge for them. The problem was that Lin Yuankong was getting older. He was willful and did not like to reason. Lin Yuankong was childless. He took his youngest disciple as his own child. From that day onward, Lin Yuankong did not say it out, but in his heart, he felt very unhappy that Jiao Nan was together with Zai Sheng. He dared to promise that his little disciple would definitely be able to find a man that would not lose to Zai Sheng after she successfully completed her studies. Yes. It seemed that his little disciple had gotten a huge bargain by marrying into the Zai family. It was as if she had fallen into a nest of good fortune. However, he had never thought so. Everything that the Zai family could provide his little disciple, he could also do the same and even more. With him around, his little disciple did not even need to care about what the Zai family had. After leaving the Zai family, his little disciple could find someone better. Unfortunately, his little disciple was very stubborn. Regardless of how he hinted at her previously, his little disciple would play dumb and divert from the topic. She basically refused to break up with Zai Sheng. Now, she was already married with 3 children. What could Lin Yuankong say? However, looking at Zai Sheng's behavior, Lin Yuankong felt suffocated at heart. So many people were yearning for him to provide some connections, but he was not willing to. Chapter 1190 Create Hindrances. Finally, he found a little disciple that he liked and wanted to protect. However, the other party did not even give him a chance to do so. As such, he became more dissatisfied with Zai Sheng. At the mention of Peng Yu, there was a slight change in Zai Sheng's expression. I've encountered some problems, but, so far, they have already been settled. Zai Sheng had met many people before. However, Peng Yu was far from the ordinary. He was very scheming and cunning. Even a character such as Zai Sheng nearly fell into Peng Yu's trap. If Peng Yu had not secretly done many things that created hindrances to Zai Sheng would not have missed the birth of his triplets and also their full-month celebration. Elder Lin snorted. He was not totally dissatisfied with this answer. The problem had only been temporarily resolved. However, his little disciple only gave birth once in her lifetime, and the 3 babies only had 1 full-month celebration in their lifetimes. As the husband and father, he was not present on either occasion. How could Zai Sheng make up for these 2 matters? Zai Hua and Miao Jing faced each other. They had already heard before that Elder Lin was very protective of his calf and doted on Qiaonan very much. However, hearsay was one matter and seeing for themselves was another. Unexpectedly, Elder Lin was extremely protective of Nan Nan. For those who were unaware, they would very likely misunderstand that Nan Nan was a granddaughter Elder Lin had left wandering outside, and it was not convenient for him to acknowledge her. Fortunately, Miao Jing and Zai Hua's thoughts about this matter were the same as Elder Lin's. Zai Sheng did not come back for these 2 important occasions. Even his mother and sister could not help him. No one knew how frightened Zai Hua felt 2 months ago when Qiaonan lay on the delivery bed and fainted on the spot after giving birth to Bao due to excessive use of energy. She had seen many lives and deaths but had not experienced it happening to her close kin. She did not have the confidence and strength to watch helplessly as Qiaonan struggled on the verge of life and death. The 3 babies were already more than 2 months old, but Zai Hua still frequently dreamed of the scene wherein both the mother and babies were on the verge of death because Qiaonan had no more energy after giving birth to Bao and almost suffocated San Bao, who was then still in the womb. What if there was an occurrence of an accident or a situation that was not within control on that day? If Qiaonan and San Bao did not manage to survive, what should she do? How was she going to face her family, as well as De Bao and Bao, who had just been born? She was afraid that she was the one who had caused De Bao and Bao to become children without a mother. After meeting Zai Sheng, Zai Hua blamed all these worries and fears on Zai Sheng without any second thoughts. Zai Sheng did not come back in time. Otherwise, everything that she had faced would have been Zai Sheng's business. She would, at most, stay by Zai Sheng's side to cheer for Qiaonan. In short, what happened that day really scared Zai Hua out of her wits. She was the only one by Qiaonan's side. What if Qiaonan required any surgery? Zai Hua feared that she, as the sister-in-law, would have the chance to sign the papers to approve the surgery under those circumstances. Fortunately, everything was over now. Qiaonan had tided over that difficult time and even safely gave birth to 3 babies. As such, the Zai family had 3 babies all at once. Peng Yu, that young lad, is arrogant and high-handed. He only cares about the outcome and not the process. Hence, there is nothing that he cannot do. There are only things that you won't expect. Forget it this time. You have to be more careful next time. After having one exchange, Peng Yu's next move toward you will definitely be worse. When that time comes, getting away from danger is a separate matter. Be careful that he will bite off a huge piece of your flesh. At the mention of Peng Yu, this junior, elder Lin looked extremely sullen. If this lad could time travel back to the ancient times, he would definitely be a formidable figure and the king of killers. Clearly, when that lad was still young, he looked so fair, crisp-looking, and well-mannered. He did not even show his teeth when he smiled. He was gentler and quieter than a young lady. Why did he become so evil after growing up? Lin Yuankong could not figure out what blow Peng Yu had experienced or if the Peng family did any foolish things to make Peng Yu, who used to be quite fine, become so deformed now. As Qiao Nan's master, no matter how much Lin Yuankong disliked Zai Sheng, with Peng Yu as a comparison, Lin Yuankong could not refuse to admit that Zai Sheng, this disciple-in-law, was actually not bad. At the very least, he was much better than Peng Yu. The Peng family returned to the capital a few years before the Zai family did. One had to know. 7 or 8 years ago, Peng Yu and Zai Sheng were two boys famous for being good in their studies in the quad of Pingcheng. Zai Sheng was older than Peng Yu by a couple of years. He was more mature, while Peng Yu was initially a bright and cheery boy, who made people feel that he was more friendly and approachable than Zai Sheng. Logically, the two of them had such a stark contrast. Peng Yu should be more popular than Zai Sheng in the quad. In fact, this was really the case at the beginning. Many people had felt that Peng Yu was very good-tempered and approachable and thus became friends with him. Strangely, within 1 month, most of those who had chosen to become closer to Peng Yu would become biased toward Zai Sheng more. After playing with Zai Sheng, they would take their hat off to him and acknowledge him as their little boss. No one would have any thoughts of betrayal thereafter. In the quad, there were many fights and quarrels between children. The adults had never taken them to heart. They felt that the children would reconcile within a day after they argued and kicked up a fuss. The adults thought that way, but the friendship between children might not really be so pure and simple. The characters of the Zai family members were usually more mature and calmer. Although they were already qualified to return to the capital long ago, Zai Yayawai had been finding ways to delay it so that they could continue staying in Pingcheng. The Peng family was different. They were keen to perform and compete for more resources. Due to this, 5 years ago, when the Peng family met the criteria to return to the capital, the whole family moved to the capital without a word. Also, the fact that they had stayed in the quad of Pingcheng before had unknowingly been wiped clean. Judging by the behavior of the Peng family, clear-minded and sharp individuals knew that the Peng family definitely did not intend to come back to Pingcheng after going to the capital. They did not even think of coming back to Pingcheng for retirement. Perhaps there were still some benefits to the Peng family by returning to the capital 5 years ago. The Peng family could not stand in the way of the Zai family when they were in Pingcheng. 5 years later, in the capital, Peng Yu had completed the mission that he did not manage to when he was a child. He had fulfilled his wish and caused Zai Sheng to have a hard fall. It could be said that over so many years, Peng Yu was the only one who could make Zai Sheng suffer. Zai Hua put away the diapers of the 3 babies properly, lest someone throw it away. Peng Yu. I've not seen him for a few years. This little lad has become more cunning and evil. At the mention of Peng Yu, Zai Hua clearly remembered that she did not have a good impression of Qiao Nan because of Peng Yu. She even doubted Qiao Nan before. Her first impression of Qiao Nan was affected by Peng Yu.